Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I thought I would try something a little different. I normally do unboxings and comparisons with the vintage and the origins. But the thing is, I've been collecting the origins line for a while now, much longer than I've been doing the videos. So I've got a lot of figures that have already been unboxed and I have not done videos on. So I thought, you know what? Let's do some short form videos. Let's do some matchups. So what I'm going to call these is just MOTU matchup. I'm going to grab the vintage, the origins version. We're just going to compare the two and see where this goes. I've got several figures lined up that I can do this with, so hopefully you guys like it. All right, so over on the left we got our vintage. As you can see, they're very similar. Same height and everything. They come with the same accessories. They both have the little helmet with the little eyes. They both come with the little axe that are pretty much identical. They both have wings that are removable. And as you'll see in a moment, the vintage head, the little helmet on the head is a lot different. So on him, he has very small little nubs for his antenna. And what that does is it makes this helmet not stay on very well. I call it helmet. I don't know really what you want to call that. But our Origins version, he actually has a longer antenna that slide through the top of the helmet to hold it in place. So this is a huge improvement on the vintage figure. Also, the vintage figure, the right pincher is completely closed. You can't hold anything with it. The left pincher doesn't really hold anything. So with this figure, what you probably have seen is people just stick it on here like this and wedge it on. And that's pretty much the best way to hold that axe. All right, so as far as articulation and everything, we all know the standard articulation on the vintage figures. Nothing new to cover there. We get all the extra articulation with our Origins figure, which is cool, but on this particular figure that I have, this right leg is kind of loose and the knee wants to buckle. But other than that, this is a pretty good figure. Both pinchers are open, and it is made where you can actually hold the axe. So this is definitely an upgrade over that vintage figure. Let me know what you think. Which is your favorite? I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think I like the Origins better. What do you think? Sound off in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Everybody have a great day. Hey, welcome back. So this is going to be MOTU Matchup Episode 2. If you watched the first episode, we did Buzz Off, so it made total sense for Episode 2 for us to follow up with Clawful. The reason being is Clawful uses the same feet and left arm as Buzz Off. And with that, we get the same kind of situation with our vintage figure, where his left hand does not hold anything. So you basically take his mace, just like what you did with the Buzz Off axe, and just kind of wedge it on the claw. And that's how you get it to hold. With this figure, you have a little lever here to do his pinch action. He has removable armor. It's in 2 pieces. I'm not going to get into taking all of the armor off because I think that's a waste of time. But let's compare him to our Origins version. And as you'll see right off the bat, the face is different. They went with the open mouth versus the little fangs sticking up on the vintage version. This guy's a lot brighter. With this one, his armor is actually 1 piece that just flips over his... you take the head off and then it just kind of goes over. The pincher, it's a similar action, but it's not exactly the same. The lever goes in the opposite direction. And this time, the left hand can actually hold the mace, kind of like what we did with the Buzz Off figure. So this is definitely an upgrade over the vintage. I do think I prefer the vintage head. It's kind of like what they did with Skeletor, that first release where he had the open mouth. I don't know if that's just something they were going for with this line, but I think I prefer the vintage head. But overall, I'm going to go with our Origins as the better of the two options here. I just wish we had a version that had that head, that's all. But other than that, everything else is a step up on the Origins version. Let me know what you think. Which is your favorite? I'm going to go with the Origins this time. All right, thanks, guys. Have a great one. All right, welcome back. This is going to be MOTU matchup number 3. Here we've got Zodac with a C. And we have our vintage over on the left. I do not have his original gun, so we're using the additional gun. I believe it came with that weapons accessory pack. It's same mode, but you get the point. And then over here we have our Origins version. The Origins version is a beautiful figure. This thing is perfect. It is a little different. As you can see, the head is a little bit smaller than our vintage, and the eyes are a little bit smaller. But other than that, it's pretty spot on. I even like that they included the hair on the chest, using that torso that came from from Stratos and from Beastman. As far as the armor, it basically goes on the same way. Everything matches up pretty close. The back of the head's a little bit different on the Origins version versus our vintage. It's a little strange up here at the top. I think, as much as I like this figure, there's something about that vintage that I just really, really dig. In this case, I think I'm going to go with the vintage. I like the armor a little bit better. You can see how it hangs down a little further here on the Origins version. And this is just a little different. I don't know. Even though that's worn out and discolored, there's something about that OG Zodac that I really like. What they should have done, I think, with the vintage or with the Origins line, we really should have got that Zodac with a K. And since we're talking about it, here's a quick shot of of a custom that I made several years ago that has been rolling around the box for a while, and he's in pretty rough shape, but I think you get the point. Zodac with a K would be really cool to add to the Origins line, so I hope that happens. All right, what do you guys think? You prefer the vintage over the Origins? Let me know in the comments. Thanks, everybody. All right, we're back with MOTU matchup number 4. This time we're going to take a look at our vintage and our Origin Tri-Klops. So we got our vintage over here on the left, Origins on the right. Right off the bat, you see a lot of differences as far as the coloring. Yes, they're both using orange. Yes, they're both using green. But as you can tell, our Origins colors, the green is flat versus the glossy of the vintage. Also, it's a different shade of green. Other than that, there's a lot to go on as far as similarities here. Same color boots, same color trunks. We've got, let's see, let's look at the eyes. That's a good way to compare the two. On our vintage, we've got the blue eye, which is pretty close to what they ended up doing with the Origins. They're very, very similar. We've got the red eye, and it's kind of hard to do this one-handed here. Let's see. All right, so yeah, so you can see both the red eyes. So they kept it pretty close. And then we got this mean red eye. But the biggest difference in the heads is obviously the mouth. It's a pretty common theme with the Origins line for them to have open mouths. So this time we're seeing teeth versus basically kind of like an underbite on the vintage version. And of course, as with all the others that use this body style, this arm, you've got The gauntlet that actually goes all the way around this time on our Origins version, just like with He-Man, and it's painted all the way through this time. They both come with essentially the same sword. This is the sword that came with our vintage, and I'm sure they used the same mode. So we've got our vintage versus our Origins. They're just a different shade of green. They both have the little place on their back to hang it. And as you can see, the sculpting of the armor, while it's very similar, the Origins has the little connections like that, versus kind of just like a one snap deal on the vintage. Other than that, the articulation is going to be the same for our vintage, as long, you know, as far as all our other vintage figures, and it's going to be the same with the Origins. They all work the same way. So what do you think? I mean, it's a pretty good upgrade. Only thing I'm kind of a little off about is the coloring. I kind of wish that it was a little bit shinier. But we see this throughout the line, where a lot of the stuff that was glossy on the original, whether it be action figures or vehicles or accessories, if it was glossy on the vintage figure, in the Origins line it tends to be flat. And I'm sure it's just a cost-saving measure on their end. Anything they could mold and not have to paint, that's probably what they did. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I'm kind of split between these two. I do like the vintage a lot. It's a classic figure, but the Origins figure, aside from the coloring, I think I like the Origins figure better, but I can't call it. I'm kind of split on this one. What do you guys think? Do you got a preference? Hey, let me know in the comments. And I'll be back with another one soon. Thanks. All right, welcome back. Today we've got MOTU matchup number 5, and we're going to do 1986's Clamp Champ with the Deluxe Origins version, who I must say comes with my absolute favorite head sculpt in the entire MOTU Origins line. No, it's not that one. We'll take a look at it in just a second. But I thought we would go ahead and compare them first. Now, full disclosure, my vintage version has had some paint touch-ups, and you'll be able to spot it pretty quickly. He was in really bad shape. All the paint was wore off of his face. So I did the best I could to touch him up. It has not held up over time. It's been several years. But you know, it's an example of an old figure. I'm not going to go spend $200 to get a better copy of Clamp Champ. Not when I have the Origins. The Origins version is is one of my favorites. All right, so let's go ahead and do a quick comparison. All right, so the vintage, you got the two-piece armor, and it's essentially the same armor. I believe it's either from Jitsu. Yeah, I think it's the same armor as Jitsu or Fisto, one of the two. I don't recall right off the top of my head. Our Origins version has that single piece that just goes over the shoulders to, you know, pop the head off and put it over the torso, and then you can snap it around the waist. As you can see, color-wise, they're pretty spot on. I do not have the original weapons that came with our vintage Clamp Champ, but I do have the Origins version, which is pretty much identical to the vintage. You got the little pincher. I never really understood it. It's an oversized piece that makes it really hard to hold your figure up. So I never really mess with it or even display the figure with it. But our Origins version came with an extra hand, so you have an open hand, and then you got the two like gripping hands. Right now I've got both the gripping hands on him. And let's see, he comes with the open hand like that. And he also comes with, and I'm going to swap his heads out real quick, because this was the biggest reason I wanted this figure, because I absolutely love this head sculpt. This one. So bring him in real close so you can see. That grin, that shit-eating grin he's got there is phenomenal. That's my favorite of any of the figures so far. Again, just like with a lot of the others, we have an open mouth, or at least we're seeing teeth versus the closed. And both head sculpts for our Clamp Champ come with his teeth showing. There is a really super rare version of this Clamp Champ where he's got really, really light skin. That one seems to be the Grail figure so far right now in the Origins line. But anyway, I'm going to go with our Origins, obviously, because I love that head sculpt. That's going to be my favorite of the two. I appreciate where this one came from. But yeah, they did it right with him. Giving us the deluxe with the extra hand, extra head sculpt, and of course we got our big pincher here. Why not? Super cool figure, super cool face. You gotta love it. All right, guys, that's gonna be it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks. All right, we're back. MOTU matchup number 6. Today we've got our vintage Stinkor and our origin Stinkor. And what always fascinated me about Stinkor is these all completely reused parts. The entire body is a reuse of Merman. His armor is from Mechanic. He did come with a shield. Now, I don't have the vintage shield. This is the one that comes with our Origins version. And this looks pretty much like the vintage. It's similar. Not exactly, but it's close. But the shield was never really a big deal for him because his power was the stink that he put off. Now, the original figure did put off, I want to say it was like a patchouli smell. It was a little rough. This guy's, he's got 40 years on him. He no longer has the smell. Unlike Mossman, where most of the Mossman figures you can still smell that pine saw kind of a smell to it. But anyway, so when we get our Origins version, and much like with some of the other figures, our vintage is that hard plastic 2-piece armor that can come off. And then when we get our Origins, since now you can remove the heads, they just made it a 1-piece, and it is a softer, pliable rubber that just snaps on and off. And just like Merman, our new Stinkor uses the same mode. Basically, it's just a repaint. But it's a fun character. It was a good use of an existing mode to create a completely new character, give him his own backstory and everything. So yeah, I dig it. I will say that on our vintage versus our Origins, the painting on the face is quite a bit different. Our colors are a lot brighter on our Origins figure. I tend to like this one a little bit better, even though it's not as shiny as our vintage. But I do like the painting on the head a lot better on this Origins versus the vintage. Plus, with the way that the armor is made, you can actually see his face, whereas the vintage completely hides his face. You can't really see much of him. So in this instance, I'm definitely going to go with our Origins as the better option. It doesn't mean I don't like our vintage. I'm always going to have love for the vintage figures, but in some cases, these new figures really just improve on an existing design, and this is a good example of that. So let me know in the comments what you think. Which one do you prefer? As always, appreciate you guys tuning in for another video. Have a great day. Alright guys, we're back. This is going to be MOTU matchup number 7. And we've got our vintage and our Origins Jitsu. Very much like Fisto, who had the the punching action. This is Jitsu, who has the chopping action. And as you can see with our vintage, this guy's a little rough looking. He's definitely seen better days. This is an old figure. The paint's all wore off. Now the gold was a kind of a darker gold than what we're seeing on our newer version, and you can barely tell at this point where the paint was around the top of the boots. He has the two-piece armor, much like the others. This guy had the chopping action. Another cool feature: you could actually pop this hand off. You could swap it out with fistos or any other things you could get to stick in that hole there. It's I think you could do some of Robato's stuff maybe. But anyway, so this is our Jitsu, and yeah, I always kind of liked this figure. Always kind of thought he was kind of mean looking. Kind of dug it. Now we get to our vintage, or our Origins new version. We don't get that chopping action no more, which is very unfortunate. And we also can't remove the hand. It's just kind of stuck there. So that's unfortunate. I think that's a missed opportunity. I would have much rather them give us a deluxe version that actually had that action feature. All in all, it is a good looking figure. They did a good job matching up the colors and stuff. Like I said, this gold is a lot brighter than what we probably would see on a standard Jitsu from the vintage days. But it does look good. Now, for display purposes, I probably would go with that. But as far as which figure I actually prefer, I'm going to go vintage on this one, because that chopping action was really cool back in the day. And having that big, huge hand, I always liked that. What do you guys think? Which do you prefer? You like the OG version of Jitsu, or do you prefer the new modern, articulated, shiny, and new version? Sound off in the comments. Let me know what you think. As always, appreciate you guys sticking around. Thanks. All right, welcome back. This is going to be MOTU matchup number 8. And I'm going off course a little bit here. We're going to look at She-Ra Princess of Power. Her original release, which is the vintage figure from 1985. Yes, it's not a part of the Masters of the Universe toy line, but it is connected, because She-Ra is a Masters of the Universe character overall. So what we got with our Origins line, actually under the Masters of the Universe title, with I guess you'd say the subtitle on the package is She-Ra Princess of Power. We got a version of her in the Origins line, so that's pretty cool. So our vintage, unlike Tila and Evelyn, who had that band in their legs, this She-Ra and all the other figures in this line, as you can see, just had the standard articulation. What set these figures apart was the hair. They all had long hair, and you could style it, and little girls loved it. Very cool. And then you had cloth goods as well. So She-Ra comes with a cape, and she's got the skirt. She also has accessories. She has a little sword and her shield. I do not have the vintage crown piece like what you see here on our Origins line. It's very similar to this, but yeah, I don't have that. But overall, this is actually a fairly decent copy, I guess you would say, or a decent representation of the figures from that era. Now, all the female figures in the line had a little gemstone right in the middle of their chest there, which was kind of neat. They all had a different stone. So when we get to our vintage line here, you don't get the stone, but you get something that's supposed to represent it. So you get a lot of the same styling, and a lot of the appearance wise. This is like in between the toy and the She-Ra from the cartoon series. a little more elaborate, a little more colorful. You never really saw her in the cartoon with a cape and stuff. But yeah, so her sword, if you see the sword here, she has her own version of the power sword, which is very different from the vintage toy. She also comes with a shield, which if you look at the vintage figure, the shield is very similar. Her hand is a little loose, so it doesn't want to hold it. But see, yeah, you can take that off. As you see, another big difference is this one has molded hair. Now, there was another version, I believe it was a Comic-Con exclusive, that had hair, like our vintage. But other than that, it was pretty much the same figure. The gold was a little shinier, and she had the hair. But this is a pretty good representation. I'm fine with this. I could care less about all the hair. Matter of fact, I wish our vintage didn't have that hair because it's impossible to brush it out or to make it look halfway decent. But anyway, I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at these two. I really do like our Origins She-Ra. She fits in nicely with the Origins versions of Teela and Evelyn and the Goddess. She's made exactly the same. As you can see, this version even has those horrible knees. But other than that, it's the same styling of figure. It has all the same articulations. You can remove the head and everything just like the Teela and Evelyn, which this one is completely different from. So yeah, I'm gonna go with our Origins on this one. Was never a fan of the vintage She-Ra stuff. Of course, it wasn't aimed at me when I was that age. But I appreciate what it is. I appreciate the roots in it and the concept of He-Man having a twin sister. Or I guess you say Prince Adam having a twin sister, Adora. Always thought that was cool. And then, of course, with Teela, or with She-Ra, we got the introduction to a lot of the Horde stuff, so that was neat. But anyway, I just thought I'd run through these real quick. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you have a lot of the original She-Ra stuff? Or do you prefer the Origins? Let me know. As always, thanks for watching. Alright, welcome back. This is MOTU matchup number 9. And we're going to take a look at Hordak. Now, Hordak is he's a character from the Princess of Power series. That was created, released in 1985. But the toys actually were packaged in the Masters of the Universe line. And eventually they all kind of merged together. You know, they're all one universe. But as far as the Origins, Hordak was She-Ra's mentor in some incarnations. He's a villain. Much like He-Man has Skeletor, She-Ra has Hordak. Now you could argue that, well, no, She-Ra's arch enemy is Catra in some versions. But for this, we're looking at Hordak as the arch enemy of She-Ra. The vintage figure, I'm going to go ahead and say right off the bat, I prefer the vintage. And it's not that it's a better figure, because honestly, the Origins figure is a lot better. The added articulation, the added the cape, which is a nice touch. They did a really good job on this figure. The one thing I do not like whatsoever on this figure is this gray. They went with a flat gray. There's absolutely no shine to it, and it's too dark. I could almost get over the flatness of the color if it was just a little bit brighter, where it matched up to our vintage. Now, the character in I believe in the original series actually had blue skin, so the toys didn't match up to the figure to begin with. So there is other versions out there of Hordak in blue. I believe the Comic-Con set that had the Horde Trooper and Grizzlor, I believe that one's blue, which is neat. Super 7, when they did their He-Man vintage figures, they did him in blue. Based it on the cartoon. Here we're just looking at the actual toys, the original versus the origins. Another thing is kind of weird. The face is a little different, as you can see with this version. I don't know. I mean, it's cool and all, but I don't like this color very much. It's a little off. But I do dig the articulation that they added to it. The band on the arm is nice. It's a little more than just sculpted onto the arm. Everything else, everything else matches up. The feet are pretty good recreation. The chest armor's pretty close, although we'll say that the bat is a little smaller than our vintage. Let's go ahead and look at the back. See, the vintage has the two-piece removable armor, whereas our new one is just the one piece that you have to pop the head off in order to remove. Now, as you can tell, his crossbow here is is pretty wore out and it's discolored. But you get the gist of it here. The new one, that's what the original looked like. Pretty close to what the original looked like when it was new. The little mechanism is a little different on this versus the vintage, but overall it's the same sculpt. Now our Origins also comes with the little bat imp thingy that goes on his hand. I do not have the original version, but it was similar to this. It was just a glossier hard plastic, whereas this is a little pliable rubber. So yeah, it's a weird one here because this is a better figure, but it doesn't have the same feel to it as that vintage. So I'm going vintage on this one. There are other versions out, like I said, and we actually have the Hurricane Hordak. I've not picked that up because I just didn't really see the need. The gimmick on it didn't appeal to me. If I ever catch it at a good price, maybe I will. But for now, this is what we got. I'm sticking with the vintage. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you agree? Disagree? Do you prefer one of the other versions out there of Hordak in the 5.5 inch scale? As always, appreciate you sticking around. Everybody have a great day. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is going to be MOTU matchup number 10. And we're going to take a look at Ninjor. We've got our vintage on the left, our new Origins version on the right. Right off the bat, I'll tell you, I don't have any of the accessories for our vintage Ninjor. So it's not a real fair comparison. So I will put a picture up on the screen of a complete vintage. You should be seeing that now. Just so you can see that the original version came with a cloth covering, whereas our new Origins version is all plastic. There is no cloth on this figure. Also noticeable, the head sculpt. Well, our original, we actually got a face that you covered with a hood. Our new version, it's actually a sculpted hood. You don't get to see the face. So it's a good and bad kind of thing. I get why they did a head sculpt like this, because it's a lot easier than using the cloth. But I would have preferred to actually had an additional head for this to match up to our vintage, because the vintage head is really a cool head. This one, the legs are a little wobbly, so it doesn't stand very well, but you can see the hair. Just a very cool thing. Now, there could be, it could be an issue of maybe they were looking at it as being like an Asian stereotype or something of that nature. Reason they went with a full sculpt on the new version. You could say that, but then you also have Jitsu, who's not too much different from our Ninjor as far as the head sculpt. So I don't know. I don't think we've ever gotten an answer on that. Now, as far as accessories that comes with our Origins Ninjor, he does have the nunchucks. Although if you look closely, you can see that it's all plastic. Our vintage version, the chain was actually made of metal. He has his sword, which looks very close to the original. as well as his crossbow, bow and arrow thing. But yeah, this is a cool figure. I dig it. You've got the little place on the back to hold the sword. I'll put that on there. You can see that. As well as you can put the nunchucks in this little spot here in the back. A little tight, but it will hold it. So yeah, they did a good job with the figure. Like I said, I wish it would have been, maybe they could have done a deluxe version of this and given us both heads. That would have been neat. I really hate when they stray too far from the vintage with the head. But I guess I understand why they did it this time. So, as far as figures, I like this figure. I missed the vintage head for it. And I'm sure there's people out there that's doing 3D printed heads and, you know, giving him the vintage head. You could probably buy those on eBay right now. I haven't looked, but I guarantee you they're out there. So anyway, what do you guys think? Do you like the old school Ninjor better? Or do you prefer the new modern Origins version? Sound off in the comments. Let me know what's your pick. As always, I appreciate you guys sticking around. I'll see you next time. Thanks. All right, welcome back. Today we're going to do MOTU matchup number 11. And we've got our 1984 vintage Webstor with our Origins version over here on the right. You can see the similar stylings. There's a little bit of difference in the way the armor sits on his chest. See how it's a little bit lower here. We've got the same gun. They use the same mode to recreate this gun. Color-wise, there is some differences. The head sculpts, very similar. I am missing the actual winch for the back of the vintage, but it is almost identical to the one that comes with our new version. This one's a little bit bulkier, but it works pretty much the same way. We are missing the twist feature in the waist with our Origins, which is a common thing for all the Origins figures. None of the Origins figures had that spring action. But yeah, we've got our standard articulation on this guy. This one's actually in pretty good shape. His legs are tight, his arms are tight. He does have some discoloration on his head, which is pretty typical for a figure that's been sitting in a box for decades. But yeah, I do like this new one though. I like this shade of blue. Of course, it doesn't have that shine that the original had, but this deep blue I really dig. Yeah, so everything else it's pretty accurate. I do like I like the head sculpt. The eyes are a little bit bigger. Yeah, so I think right off the bat I'm going to say I prefer this new one. But to be fair, I was never really into Webstor. I don't know, I just never really cared for him. In the animated series, at one point, there was a version of him. It wasn't, I don't think they even called him Webstor, but he had 4 arms, which is really cool. I know I've seen some 3D printed add-ons you can do for the Origins to give him 4 arms, which is pretty cool. Yes, little attachments that come off the back. But yeah, so on our Origins version, just so I can show you how this works, you've got the grappling hook, and I'm going to take it and hook it up somewhere just to show you how this works. Hopefully it pull the string and he ascends to wherever we've got him connected to. So unfortunately it's kind of off camera, so you can't really see it, but yeah, I just hook this up high and pull the string and it pulls him up. It's pretty neat little feature. I dig it, but I really love the blue. That blue is it's fantastic. Now they did match up the shade of the purple for his armor and his boots pretty close, minus obviously the shine. But yeah, this is a pretty good figure. I wasn't really excited to pick this guy up. In the beginning, I was trying to be a completionist and get all the different waves. But like so many of you, it's just been a nightmare to try to get all these figures. So, but luckily I was able to pick him up, and I'm glad that I did, because I think I'm going to prefer this guy in my display versus our vintage. He's not in the best of shape, but, you know, overall he's pretty decent for what it is. So yeah, what do you guys think? You like the new Webstor? Did you wish maybe we could have got like a deluxe version of him where we had the different head and maybe the additional arms? I don't know. I think it might have sold better. Might have been a better figure if they would have done that. But anyway, sound off in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. As always, appreciate you guys sticking around, and I'll be back with another one soon. Thanks. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is going to be MOTU matchup number 12, and we're going to take a look at 1983's Faker, as well as our modern Origins version of Faker. Faker has always been probably next to Trapjaw my favorite figure in the entire vintage line. It was just so weird and bizarre because we never really got Faker in the animated show. There was, you know, one almost appearance, but he was never blue. So to get this variant of He-Man in blue with Skeletor's armor in orange, it was just a really cool thing back then. So we get our new Origins version, and it's a good figure. But as with all of the Origins He-Man heads, even though it is a vintage style head, there's just something that's just not quite right about the face. They've got it, I mean, it's close, but it's just not the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm going for the vintage Faker here, because there's just the nostalgia with that figure has just always been great to me. Now, I'm not taking anything away from this, because this is a great figure. This is a great modern update on the figure. You know, you've got the sword. I'm not a big fan of this sword. I prefer the vintage style, but it's close. The armor is spot on. It's pretty much identical to the vintage armor. Even the way it connects on the back, the fasteners, everything exactly the same. So we'll bring out our vintage, and this vintage figure is in pretty rough shape. He's discolored, he's got loose legs, but I don't care. This is still one of my favorites. He does have a repro sticker. I'm not one of those people that's against repros. Of course, I'm not selling these figures. These are for my own personal use. If I was reselling, I would not use any repro stuff. I do like that we got bright purple on this, but I think I prefer the darker on the vintage. And also this bright hair, I don't know, it just should be a little darker like the vintage. I don't mind that the skin tone is a brighter blue, because they obviously went with the same color that they used for Skeletor. And I don't mind that it's not shiny like the vintage. That doesn't bother me here. So it's a toss-up on these two, but I'm still leaning towards our vintage as far as being my favorite of the two. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you have a preference? Or do you wish that they would have just given us, in our Origins line, given us something more like the Revelations figure that's more robotic and it's got the armor damage and all that kind of stuff where you can see the metal through it? I mean, that might be cool to get another version of Faker like that. Personally, I'm looking forward to getting this version of Faker in the Masterverse line. That's what I'm really hoping for. I don't know, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Do you have a preference? Or do you think that these two guys stand on their own equally? Let me know in the comments. As always, I appreciate you guys sticking around for another video. I'll be back with another one soon. Have a great day.